it don't get everything is true, but what it don't.
Boss, you can't go on ignoring this rock and roll stuff anymore. Every hotel and club in the country's wiring for information.
Hello, Groove Dogs. Welcome to the Runaway Radio Rewind, a program that looks and listens back to the heyday of one of America's truly great radio stations, the legendary and late KLOL. It's the Runaway Radio Rewind. And now, here's your host, Steve Robinson.
Yes, welcome. It's the Runaway Radio Rewind. We take a look back at one of the greatest rock stations ever to do it, Rock 101 KLOL. Today on the show, we hear again from Dr. Betty, a longtime guest on the Stevens Pruett Show, and she's got a story or two. And Uncle Waldo is standing by for your listening pleasure. Enjoy it.
So Dr. Betty Halpern, here with us today, was one of the key personalities on the Stevens and Pruett Show from, let's see if we can get the year.
Oh,
Dr.
I know
Betty.
the year.
Do you?
Yes, I do know the year. It was 1987.
87. And
Yes.
the boys had just been here maybe a year at that time, coming from Dallas at the Eagle, where they joined KLOL in, about 86. And then a year later, they decided in the 9 a.m. hour on Friday mortings.
Well, I decided.
It
was my idea.
It was your idea. Let's do a survey hour.
It was turned it into the, PG.
The sex survey.
We'll say
hour.
PG-13 to an R-rated hour. But
Right.
Yeah, I initially called them because they often would get a lot of material from the Post or Chronicle du jour.
Not that they would get it right all the time, but they would just
just make humor from the material that was there.
But
there was a particular day when they were making jokes about women at risk for HIV should be screened. Now, I was in the habit of, and still am, of not waking up easily in the morning, and that's when I discovered if my alarm went off at the time of something called the Joke Off, which played around 7 in the morning, which was a contest where 2 callers would phone in with 2 jokes, and then audience members would call in and vote. And the winner would be able to get some sort of a prize.
Your initials could win you $1,000 on 101 KLOL.
Hi, we're Stevens.
And Pruett. Be sure to listen to 101 FM weekday mornings at 6:30.
For the name game.
Listen for your initials, be the correct caller,
And you win $1,000. Junk mail coupons, you don't need them with the name game.
just listen for your initials. Weekday mornings with Stevens and Pruett on 101 FM.
It's easy. If you have a name,
You have initials.
Win $1,000 from the station where you get it all. 101 KLOL.
Now, I happen to have called in, and this would be the original prize I won.
Very nice.
And this would have been from 86.
That's 86?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my goodness.
That's an 86 original.
Sort of a baby blue.
Baby blue Runaway Radio. And I
Runaway
thought,
radio
way cool.
Sweatshirt.
And,
That was your prize.
That was my
in the
prize.
Joke Off.
Yeah, I won that. But at any rate, I'm driving to work, and they're making this joke, and they thought, well, maybe if you're, a Haitian prostitute, and they, cut to commercial, which is funny unless you've been a doctor diagnosing that problem in women, which I had been, and I thought, well, let me just think about that. And I drove to work, and I thought, yeah, they could fire me. I don't care. This is important. And, we had doctors doing the KTRH side, really good ones actually, and they were very knowledgeable. But the people who called this show with a lot of humor needed the information.
More so, maybe. Or
You
who
think?
knows?
Maybe? just slightly. And it kind of the KTRH call would be, well, my HDL is, it's 43 and I want it to be 50. What do I do?
What do I do?
And that would be the sort of content on that. And that wasn't what I was interested in doing. So I phoned when I got to work that particular day. And I said, I'm a physician here in Houston. And Jimmy answered the phone.
Wow.
And I called the contest line
You
number.
called the contest
and
line.
he answered the phone, which is a rarity, as I discovered later. And I guess that Boner was busy at that moment. However, I said, I can think of a few risk factors. And he said, well, can we put you on the air? And I said, sure. Well, I didn't realize also how rare it was for them to even ask that question till later. But
the question of, may I put you on
yes,
the air?
Mother, may I?
If you called the line and they picked it up, you're probably
you
on.
are already on. Or if they cold called people sometimes,
yes,
like my husband,
which is not
was hilarious, but he understood what could happen. At any rate, I listed everything I could think of, ending with receptive anal intercourse, which I could get away with, and the FCC would not have been too happy with them, I suppose. But
it was medical information,
for
obviously,
me.
And necessary and quite relevant,
and reached a huge number of listeners, which I thought was really important. Well, I was working for a clinic. I really wanted to go into private practice. Banks said, no, we're not going to loan you money. And my accountant said, no, you'll go broke. And pretty much that's all I heard was the word no. So I fired the accountant, worked for a different clinic, and thought about it on my own and called back. And lo and behold, Jim answered the phone again. And this is now 6 months later, perhaps. And I said, how would you like to do a show like that? He goes, great. Can you come Friday? I said, yes. Yes, I can. And people often ask me, were you in the radio station with them? And the answer was yes. We had initially 2 microphones and 3 people just squeezed in together.
Oh, I remember that until we...
and we had a closed-circuit TV upon which there were plenty of hand gestures from,
the control room.
The control room, where there was no control whatsoever. And then we had Brian, who was brilliant. I don't know that I've ever known a man that could multitask quickly and go from voice to voice to voice to running the board. But initially, it was all confusing to me. I'd never done any radio or anything in the entertainment industry, although I grew up in Southern California around it. But it was fascinating because they would record a bank of calls. And while those were playing, I didn't know if we were live or not since I didn't have a headset. So I had no clue what was going on. I didn't know when the news was on. And then there would be other calls, but you could not, if they were live, taken live, I had no idea if this would occur before or after the bank of calls. It wasn't even clear to me what was recorded. So it was very confusing. So it took me a while to kind of pick up this rhythm and learn their bits, like $40, same as in New Orleans. And they never ever had a fight, I think was one. And they had several lines that I rather enjoyed and still used. Not everyone understands them, but I don't care. But eventually I figured it out, and then eventually it became a more modernized studio. But
how many years did you, Dr. Betty, do the weekly 1-hour feature of medical advice on the Stevens Pruett show?
Attempted medical advice while they attempted to derail me. I did that for 11 years.
11 years
yes.
is the record. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you were very good at it. You were always
improved.
You were always very personable. You were serious, but you got the joke when the joke was coming around. And
well, I got better at feeding them the joke. The timing improved, and I would often think of a funny line, but realize, I'm the straight roll here, and so I would write down what was funny, and then decided which one of them could deliver it better and pass the note. But I used to become annoyed after a while with Mark and his, buzzers and bells and whatnot. And unbeknownst to him, I brought one in of my own. Because he used to like to answer medical questions himself, right?
Oh, well, he would know.
Well, of course. He thought he did, but when he was wrong, I took my buzzer out and buzzed him. Ooh. That was hilarious.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Jimmy liked that a lot. And I've watched your YouTube series on this, and some of the questions that were asked, these guys were brilliant. They worked together for such a long time. But yes, they did have these spats on occasion. I do recall kind of early on when I'm seated with faces here and here, and they're screaming obscenities at each other, and the spit is literally hitting both of my cheeks. And I don't know that we're live or banked calls or what is going on. And the second we're live, they are right into a joke. The comedic timing is there, and they're perfect together. And I'm sort of sitting there going, oh, God, Mom and Dad had a fight.
What just happened?
Yeah, what just happened, and is this live or not?
But when the red light goes on, all that goes away, and they're on the radio.
It took me a while to see where the red light was, you see. Yeah,
that's right.
It was organized chaos.
Thanks, Doc. If you haven't done so, check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/Runaway Radio Rewind. Throw us a like there. And you can also stay caught up with us at runawayradiorewind.com. And now it's time for Uncle Waldo.
Teenage hitchhiker person. This script was sent in by Darla Brennan of Arlington. That makes Darla eligible for the $2,800 mink coat, courtesy of Tim Moore and the gang at the Old Spaghetti Warehouse, with locations in Dallas and the Fort Worth, too. Get your script in quick, won't you? To 5915 West Pioneer Parkway, 76013. Don't forget, the 31st is our deadline for the January competition. But right now, let's go front row center for Act 1, Scene 1 of Uncle Waldo, Teenage Hitchhiker Person. As we join our hero, we find that he's, well, like it's happened to you many times before, he's late to work. Let's join him now.
Okay, Uncle Waldo, hey. You're late. Where you been? Hey, come here. Come here.
I'm sorry,
What's
Mr.
wrong
Big.
with you? How come you're late? Huh?
Sorry,
You
Mr.
didn't call or nothing. How come you're late?
Well,
What's wrong with you? What happened?
Well, Big, Mr. Big, this morning I was on my way to work, just minding my own business.
Yeah.
And my car breaks down.
Oh, I'm sorry, Uncle Waldo. I didn't mean to jump on you like that. And then what happened?
Well, I got out and I flagged down a big rig.
You mean an 18-wheeler?
Yeah, it's a ride.
And then what happened?
Well, I looked at my watch, and I noticed I was really late, so I asked the driver if he could speed up a little, and as we were turning on to 820, we see this huge wreck. It was so bad that no cars could get through.
Yeah, and then what happened?
Well, at this time, the truck driver said, don't worry, Uncle Waldo, teenage hitchhiker person. I can get you through this mess.
Yeah, and then what happened?
And then I said, man, if you can get us through this, if you can get us through this without getting us hurt, I'll blow on your big shifter.
And then what happened?
Boy, that son of a gun could drive that truck.
You've been listening to the Runaway Radio Rewind. Join us next week for more memories and goodness for the intelligentsia from the people who made the former KLOL what it was. Find us online at runawayradiorewind.com and be sure to grab your Runaway Radio gear. You can find the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. Show us your dog, and we'll see you next week on the Runaway Radio Rewind.